But Neeks, I want to ask you, because this game has so much history, is this the best rivalry in Premier League history?
Without a shadow of a doubt. I had this discussion on this table on a Saturday football show last season when Jamie Carragher came with his nonsense about Man City versus Liverpool being the best rivalry in Premier League history. A rivalry where Liverpool haven't even finished in the top 2 in 2 out of those 5 years that they've been rivals. So that was strange anyway. But in Premier League history, for me, it's the best. Now, the quality element of it, in terms of how good those teams were across the board, the Man United-Chelsea rivalry is up there because both of them are reaching Champions League finals and actually winning the Champions League. But purely Premier League based, the animosity between the players, you got the Roy Keane and Vieira, and it goes, Gary Neville, Jose Antonio Reyes, Fabregas and Ferguson with the pizza. Like, there's so many different stories that have gone through this rivalry. Van Persie leaving and coming back and getting the standing ovation more so at Emirates. And then the year after we were terrible, he scores against Arsenal and does a mini Adebayo. He didn't run to the other fans, but he was passionate about scoring. This rivalry is massive, and it spills over into the fan base. And it's all like, I'm not talking violence, but it spills over in terms of how much. Listen, everyone knows on here and any channel, I don't like Arsenal. I might even use the H word.
Look, you're in good company.
I don't like Arsenal. I don't like their fans. Most of my friends are Arsenal fans. I don't like them when we're talking Arsenal versus Man United. I don't. And there's only a few things that are worse than losing to Arsenal or imagining Arsenal being successful. That's Liverpool being successful and nowadays Man City being successful to an extent. In generally, I don't mind Man City winning the league because who the hell are you? But this year, I don't want Man City to win the league because they might get 3 in a row. So there's caveats in certain.
Would you rather Arsenal won it?
This year.
Just to pause you, there's been a goal at Leicester and it's Harvey Barnes.
No way.
Oh, look at Abby smiling. She's smiling because Brighton's not going ahead of Spurs.
Harvey Barnes with the goal. Leicester 2, Brighton 1. Continue.
Unreal.
But, I said, I don't like Arsenal. I don't like Arsenal fans being happy. I don't like Arsenal winning. But you have to respect what they've done. You have to respect what they've done. You have to respect their history in the Premier League. And I think for me as a Man United fan, partly this is the biased part of it, but I don't think anything would be better than this rivalry being reignited. And I'm talking top of the table, not fighting for 4th, the Twitter derby, and all that, Europa League nonsense. I'm trying to hear Champions League theme tunes. I'm trying to be fighting for Premier League titles. Those wins or those losses at Old Trafford or the Emirates need to actually mean something. And again, I'm biased, but I think the Premier League would be greater for it.
I do think it is coming back to that though, and I almost feel like this fixture is almost a sign of the times to come, because I do actually feel like these two teams are actually coming back to the forefront of the Premier League, where we're seeing Chelsea and Liverpool kind of go through a rebuilding period. I do think these two teams have the right coaches in time. They've gone through their transition periods and they're signing the right players, I feel like, at this moment. Both superpowers in Premier League history, of course, with their great rivalry, as you said. I think now this is kind of like almost a taste of what's to come, I feel like. Could we go back to the Arsenal United battling for the title? Of course, you'll always have City in there as long as Pep Guardiola's there. I don't think they'll ever go away. But seeing that dynamic come back in, as you said, move away from kind of the banter Classico and Twitter Classico to actually it meaning something. And it's like, that's what it's become, literally, because they're the two biggest fan bases online, and it's like constantly going back and forth. But now it's like the teams can actually go back and forth. And it seems like both fan bases are actually behind their clubs. They're both loving what they're seeing at their club, both on the pitch and off the pitch. So it's a weird time to kind of have this game. It's like both of these teams loving everything that's going on. I'm not used to this.
Can I just read the super chat really quickly from Queen in the North? I think it was just touching on what you were talking about before earlier about spending 220 million, and it was because we lost, I think he meant to say 10 players rather than 19. It was from Queen in the North, who said we spent 220 million because we lost 10 players, and most of them on a free, and we had to spend. So that was his justification for why United spent so much.
It's still a very healthy amount for any new manager to start with, to add to their squad. That's all I'm saying. Trust me, I think Arteta would have loved to have walked in and lost 10 of those players. He had to end up, terminate. He ended up terminating a load of contracts. So I get your point. There was a squad to fill up, but I think On the, are we coming back to the Arsenal-Man United rivalry and all that? Maybe. I really hope so. I'm with you. It'd be great. But it's a long way to go for just one of those teams to be a powerhouse title-chasing team. Arsenal, for a half season, have looked imperious. Was it 15 wins out of 18? But then there's a whole other half of the season to go. Tomorrow's our halfway point.
Tomorrow's your halfway point, and of course it's a huge game. You know, you had the test at Tottenham, not really much of a test. You didn't get out of second gear, but you know, you are facing Manchester United, who have beat you before, whether or not they should or shouldn't have in that reverse fixture. You have the home advantage. You've got Manchester City coming up as well. But looking at tomorrow, I want your preview of that game.
Get the tactic board out.
Yeah.
It's good at tactics.
Where is it?
I know, that's what I said.
I would be, and I mean no disrespect to United, I'd be surprised if we didn't have sustained spells on the ball, controlling the game.
Is that because they haven't got Casemiro tomorrow?
A little bit that. Also because I think it's worked for both teams, Arsenal having the ball and United conceding a bit of possession. That's not to say I'm not giving them the park the bus tag in these big games. Far from that. They've been very pragmatic and clever.
And we've been doing that from Fergie days. Like we can't play like Arsenal, 5 in midfield park to chase your best player.
Forget that Fergie was flexible like that. But sorry.
So the question is, then what do Arsenal do when they have the ball? You know, are they going to be inventive? Is the nerves going to get to them? Because something that's gone a little under the radar, City winning against Spurs, thanks very much, by the way, and now playing Wolves.
Welcome.
Yeah, cheers,
You are
mate.
welcome.
Yeah, and then playing Wolves at 2 p.m. means that gap could be 2 points.
Yep.
We beat you, which was like, oh my word, we've just come and won at Spurs. We're 8 points clear of City. You kidding? By the time we kick a ball next, could be 2. Now I know the game's in hand and all that, but that is, you know, that's a little
pressure.
It's a
Pressure.
little
Pressure.
Oh, you're there. You're not all the way over there. So, so there's that to overcome for Arsenal. I don't think a draw is the end of the world. Some people will make out. I've already heard the lines. You know, Arsenal need to win this if they're serious about winning the title. No, they don't. No. They don't have to win this.
Who do you think it means more to though? Because United
the
are
moment,
also
Arsenal.
in that chasing pack. You think it means more to
Arsenal right now?
Yeah.
Because United, I think, they've beaten us once already this season.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shame in losing in the Emirates. And I think there'll be a sense of, all right, they're on the up, but we're doing some great things and we'll just keep doing our thing. You can lose 10 games a season and get into the top 4. I don't think United will lose 10
That's the
games
thing,
a season,
yeah. In a top 4 race, you can drop points.
In a
In a
tight
title race
race.
against Man City, you can't. Give or take.
Ideally, you win that game tomorrow, but because of the way City have dropped points with Brentford and Everton at home, that's why you enjoy having a gap, because it means when you play the really on-form sides like United, who probably are the second most informed team in the league right now, you kind of go, okay, well, draw's not the end of the world. So, to gather all those thoughts together, it is important for Arsenal. It's not the end of the world if we don't win. United will cause us problems. But then if United do win, then I think that title race discussion, I understand the, no, hold on. We still have to achieve this before we talk about this, and I get that. Arsenal still haven't got into the top 4. And we're talking about title race. Arteta never got us into the Champions League yet. So if they're thinking of the title race, then yeah, United want to come and do something. But I think realistically, they're going, let's go, try get a point or a win, see where we are. So I think it's really balanced in a really fascinating way.
We mentioned no Casemiro for you, but I wanted to ask you, if you look at Arsenal's team, who is the player or players you are most worried about tomorrow?
Saka?
I was going to say, don't say no one, because that could...
No, I'm not going to be... Like, when Arsenal were sitting 8th, I could run that banner, but I can't do... That's too risky. I say no one, and they pop 4 past us. Like, I can't do that. I'm not going to put myself...
You got to respect it.
Yeah, you have to. Saka, obviously. That's, I think in the first game at Old Trafford, we had Malacia there, and Malacia started the season well. Obviously, took the position from Luke Shaw, and that game was like, you know what? He needs to maybe do some work. He needs because Saka got the better of him in that match, and I think Saka scored a goal.
Yeah, the Emirates game.
No, the Old Trafford.
Old Trafford, yeah, he did score.
He scored a goal, yeah. And Malacia was kind of out of position. And I mean, Ødegaard, candidate for player of the season right now. He's scoring goals, he's creating goals. He's the... I don't watch Arsenal in depth like the rest, but he is the go-to guy, should I say. If he plays well, Arsenal are generally going to play well. And of course, you got Thomas Partey. We don't have the battle, unfortunately. The Partey, Casemiro, that would have been brilliant.
That would have been
brilliant to see.
Shame.
But even though I know Casemiro's the best defensive midfielder in the league, I have to respect what Partey has done, even before he came to Arsenal, but more so what he's done this season, because he even said it by his own admission that his first year and a half or so at Arsenal, he gave it like a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And since literally that interview came out, he's been nothing short of a 7 out of a 10, if not higher at times. So
you mentioned Odegaard as well, didn't you?
I did mention Odegaard, yeah. So for me, those are the 3. I'm looking Saka, Odegaard, and Partey, and that's a lot. That's a lot of players.
When we struggled, sorry Abby, when we struggled against Newcastle to break them down, ultimately we did draw that game. The one who looked like winning it for us was Zinchenko. Not because of what he was doing in the final third, because of who he was finding in the final third. And he thought, oh, okay, now Eddie's in a good position, Xhaka's in a good position. So that's the kind of player that I think we need him to have a good game to unlock us.
He was probably, I would say, the sleeping factor in the North London derby last week as well. I think where we were kind of focused on your midfield and stuff. And listen, you drowned us out in midfield anyway. But him coming and stepping into that midfield was one of the reasons why we got drowned out. And I think,
and that I think has been a massive miss for Manchester City. I just want to ask you, on the flip side of that, who are you looking at from a United perspective?
They got match-winning quality. You know, Rashford is a match winner. He can do something, whether it's beat a couple players, whether it's find the right space in the box. Bruno Fernandes can drop a 0 out of 10 and then score a great goal. Like, you know, they do have players who can do.
Just to pause you, James Ward-Prowse has scored. It is 1-0 Southampton.
It might be a free kick. It might
be a free kick. To be a free kick.
Let's find out if that's a free kick and it breaks the record. Go on. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, they got match-winning quality. Christian Eriksen's a classy player, isn't he? Yes. I don't think Martial was at his best in the derby, was he? But
no, I don't know if he's even going to start.
Okay.
Rashford.
I mean, it's got to be Rashford, because I think he's been he's been a consistent threat, and he's got better and better under Ten Hag. Another example of great management. You know, drops him for a game because he
overslept.
Overslept. Then brings him on to win the game. I think it's a nice. That worked out nicely, didn't it? Yeah, Rashford is the one.
Can I just
go on? I had a question for you after.
Because Varane is one player I want to talk on, because I feel like this season he's one player. Centre backs don't obviously get their credit. I've got to make sure they get theirs. But I feel like this season he's stepped up massively. Probably been arguably your best defender. I think first half of the season I'd probably say Lisandro maybe just edged it, but since coming back I feel like Varane's still at that level. But talk on him a little bit, because I don't feel like I feel like last season, a lot of people were quick to mud his name when he came here and he wasn't maybe delivering the performances you expected, and that was maybe carrying a knock, bad defence around him, you could say. But this season, it seems like the defence is probably one of your strongest points, and he seems like a pillar within that. But
I think Varane's been kind of disrespected throughout his career. Before he came to Manchester United, it was a case of he's been carried by Ramos. He's been carried by Umtiti in the World Cup, and that one was very strange to me. Umtiti's a good defender, but it didn't make any sense to me. The Ramos one, you can understand, but you're still wrong in my opinion. You know, he's had there's a few look at errors on Man City when they went to the Bernabeu, the odd time. But for me, he joined Man United and we were a mess, and he kind of just fell into that mess. But he wasn't bad. He just wasn't the level that you expect a 5-time, or at least 4 times winning Champions League winning centre-back to be, a World Cup winning centre-back. But this season, and Martinez had the impact, and he came in with all the criticism that he got and the way that he plays, the tenacity. It's like the Rio Vidic. And a lot of people, maybe you might even probably more so the ones who are not old enough to really appreciate defending, but you more just see it. Vidic was the guy. Vidic won Premier League Player of the Year. He won PFA Player of the Year because he was about it. Everything went. He took out the defender, he took out the ball, everyone. His own keeper at times. But Rio just cleaned up. Rio just did his bit. And Varane is just so calm. He's so unassuming, but he's so controlling that Luke Shaw can come in and it's like, oh, no, Martinez, you're good. You're very good. But
that's the role.
I don't want to disrespect him, but it's like, we didn't even miss you when Luke Shaw came in. That's Varane. That's Varane because he's got control of that whole defense, and I've rated that guy for years. From when Jose brought him into the Real Madrid team at 19, I've rated that guy.
And you're displacing Pepe, who is for me was still one of. I mean, at 40, he was still doing bits at the World Cup, so tells you kind of the level of Varane. But I do think as well that partnership between Lisandro and Varane does remind me of that Rio and Vidic. And I know people will look at that and be like, oh, what are you talking about? But profile-wise and stylistically, how they play, one being the calm, cool recovery defender, and then the other one being the aggressive front foot, similar like we have in Romero, to be fair. But Lisandro, I just feel like that's a perfect hybrid, and they connect well, to be fair. But I don't think enough people have spoken about Varane's improvements this year, where Lisandro's been getting all the props.
Listen, I've had discussions, people talking about he was a great defender. I was like, what are you talking about? Was he is a great defender?
And the thing is if I'm seeing like Thiago Silva still getting his flowers at 36, 37,
which he deserves,
let's not try and discredit Varane, because this season I feel like he's been one of the best defenders. And
jury's out for me on Lisandro Martinez a little bit still. Not to say brilliant against Harry Kane, and
because we got him over you.
I was going to say
another one.
The summer move really burns.
He was the priority defensive signing.
Vlahovic, I don't really know any of them, really.
I want to.
No, just because I don't know. Because I still have seen Gabriel Jesus spin him, even though we lost, and I'd just like to enjoy that moment, even though we lost the game. I know you got to take the little victory, don't you?
Man.
No, but Varane, if a team's doing well and you don't notice their centre backs, they're doing really well.
Yeah.
Like
you don't want to be talking about centre backs.
Yeah, and Saliba, that he's become a little bit. When he came into the team, everyone was so surprised. And now Reece Gabriel getting all the credit, but Saliba is still doing really well, but no one's talking about it, and that's what you want. So I don't really pass much judgment on Varane. If you ask me right now, what do you think of Varane's season? I don't know. But that's like a really good thing, you know? I guess
the less spoken about.
I guess he must be doing really well because they're winning games, and I was talking about
your centre backs every single minute.
What, you're right.
By the way, that Southampton goal was disallowed. By the way, so it's still 0-0 at Southampton, Aston Villa, 1-0 Bournemouth up at Forest, Leicester 2, Brighton 1, and West Ham 2, Everton 0. There is a possible penalty at West Ham. We'll let you know what happens there. But for who? I had a question, actually. This one's for you, Fuad. You know, there's not much really splitting United, I guess, in Arsenal at the moment, other than kind of the league positions.
The most important thing.
I want to know who you think has been the better manager, Ten Hag or Arteta?
As much as I want to say Ten Hag, I have to say Arteta, to be fair, because I don't think anyone saw the improvements, especially after back-to-back 8th place finishes. Don't get me wrong, I saw the All or Nothing documentary, preparing all my jokes, and it was like, I couldn't find any. What's going on here? So when I watched the All or Nothing doc, I was like, I don't think this season they're going to be as pusher. I thought this year.
I heard the doc didn't have what I wanted, so I didn't watch it.
I
still ain't watched it.
You know,
I have no intention of watching
it. It's
not a comedy.
Exactly.
Like cinema. Ours was like during lockdown.
Yeah.
Everyone's at home.
Wasn't Man City's documentary during the Centurion?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I haven't watched it, guys.
I'm
not watching
Jose
it.
Mourinho look up to the TV with his glasses. Like, that was
I watched that one.
The Daddy Rose clip.
I watched that one.
Dele Alli clip. Like, there's so many iconic moments in that Spurs one.
Son, Hugo Lloris.
Laughing at us, though.
I mean,
the Harry Kane speech.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there are some
the
amazing
amount of moments in that, like our sporting director getting coffees and flirting with the coffee lady when you should be getting transfer targets. What's wrong with you?
Do you know what? I need to rewatch that.
Bro, ours was like the most embarrassing.
Ours was like The Office, basically.
Literally.
Watching The Office.
Hilarious. So when I was watching your one, I was expecting kind of similar, the same thing. But I knew after watching, I looked at it and I was like, no, Arteta's a serious manager, and the players have really bought into what he's saying. Guys like Xhaka, I was like, oh, he's not just some hothead. Because I thought the players might have detested him behind. Oh, he's always letting us down. No, they really believe him. Like, and it was like how they all bought in, and I was just like, yo, this ain't what I thought it'd be. So I knew this season you lot would probably look a little bit better, and I did not expect that. So I have to give Arteta a lot of credit, because it took him 3 years to get to this point. And if now you're at the top of the table, 8 points clear. Listen, I love Ten Hag and what he's done, but that is
it's one of those ones when I said I don't like Arsenal, so I have to throw in a few digs where I can. At any other club in the top 6, he's sacked. He's not in the job.
Gone.
But when you get that opportunity like you did, damn, take
capitalize
it.
on
and
it.
Right now he's taking it. Now we don't know how this season's going to end. We don't know how the future's going to hold. But as it stands right now, I would love to say Ten Hag's been better this season. And we've got a lot of issues happening behind the scenes, sometimes even in front of the bloody scenes, but that he's had to deal with. And Arteta's had to deal with that in the past and finish. So we're not talking about, for me, who's the better manager in general? I have Ten Hag over Arteta. I think he's proved more of his career so far. But I talk about this season, I think you have to give it to Arteta. To be leading Man City by 8 points.
I just want to read the super chat from AK Dash, who said, Eric Ten Hag has sorted the mid and back line. Attack still hasn't got to it yet, though. We still don't score enough to make a push for the title, but once he does, ... So maybe, but again, that could be in terms of investment. Obviously, Arsenal. I'm not talking about that today. That's too depressing. But, Arsenal have done so well with their academy. The likes of Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli.
Bit of luck as well.
There is a lot of luck there, same as us when we struck gold with Harry Kane, and I think that you've still got Rashford, and obviously Rashford is having a complete resurgence, and I think that next season you'll be in a much better position up front, and you'll be more of a finished article.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
It's okay. I'm just going to move on from this shortly. But wrap it up for me.
I'm just very interested to see if Ten Hag has a bad patch, how that goes. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just interested.
But I think that's the thing for every manager. For every manager, you always want to say, all right, it's all good now, but when it gets bad, let's see.
But I don't even mean it in like when you hit the tough games or when things go wrong. I just mean,
how do you react?
I'm just interested. I think Arteta's shown a real steel to come through a really tough patch and go, right, that's it. Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli are starting against Chelsea, or we'll lose the first 3 games. All the new signings start against Norwich. I think he's been able to overcome things, the Aubameyang stuff. And Ten Hag's had to deal with a lot. There's a potential sale going on. There's Ronaldo. There's how do you deal with your captain and not playing. He's had to deal with a lot of things. But what happens if he loses 4 out of 6 games? I'm just interested. But it'll be interesting.
I mean, those first 2 games were tough.
Yeah.
They were tough, and there was a lot of talk. Frank de Boer, they were talking. Could be I remember that. Certain bookmakers paid out.
Hey, this Frank de Boer guy is the guy you were hyping. I'm like, you lot wait till Christmas.
certain bookmakers paid out on Ten Hag being the first manager sacked that early in the season. So
which is mad.
Yeah, we'll see.
I want to get your predictions for tomorrow's huge game. James?
The closer we get, I do feel more confident. But I went earlier in the week with 2-2 on Forever Arsenal.
Interesting.
Because I'm a pessimist. Yeah, I've not really gone.
You feel like a reality check is due.
If you ask me to pick a winner, I have to back Arsenal. I have to. But I just think United have a lot of quality. It could be a really, really interesting game. Also, the Sky cameras, Gary Neville watching. Of course, we're going to bottle it up. No, I'm kidding. No, we've stepped up in big games. Yeah.
Big test tomorrow. Neeks?
I'm not going to lie, I'm worried. I'm slightly worried.
Please don't. Please bring your chest tomorrow.
Arsenal are very good at home. I think you've only dropped points against Newcastle, correct?
Yeah, we really could have won that game. Should have.
So I am worried. We don't have. I don't think Martial's going to play. If he does, he's not going to be fit. It's going to be very much like he was in the derby. No Casemiro, huge miss. We dropped points, obviously Palace in the way that we did with that late dagger. I'm not worried about necessarily us bouncing back from that, but to do it against Arsenal at the Emirates is one of the toughest games that you can do it at. I have to be honest. I can't see us winning. I'm gonna be honest, I can't see us winning. And if I was predicting any other team but my own, I would say Arsenal win 2-1. But I can't predict us to lose in the current vein of form that we're in. I'm not gonna do it. So I'll say 1-1.
I think it might be a draw. Fuad, what do you reckon?
Same. I'm going for a draw. I would say 1-1 as well.
Yeah.
Been a long time since people have said Arsenal at the Emirates. The Emirates used to be just, you turn up and most teams have good records.
And listen, I would take I'll take a draw. We beat them at Old Trafford.
Bigger toilet bowl.
It's the only game they've actually. The only game they've lost this season was to us. If we can get out this season without losing to the champions,
Emirates crowd.
Okay.
Right,
Nottingham
I'm leaving it.
Forest.
I'm from round